Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us this Thursday evening for our virtual health science Q&A session. I don't know any other place where you can get all your programs represented in one place, but we're a small enough school where you can do that. You are joining us here at Newman University in Wichita, Kansas, to learn a little bit more about our School of Healthcare Professions and the programs offered, which include nursing, respiratory care, radiologic technology, and diagnostic medical sonography. My name is Georgia Drews. I'm the Senior Associate Director of Admissions here at Newman. I also happen to be an alumna, not of the healthcare sciences, but I'm here to help you through tonight. Our chat is open. So some of you submitted questions in advance for these programs. Some of you have shared them for the actual meeting. So if you have questions about any of these, they could be very specific to you. They could be very general. Go ahead and put those in the chat. I am the only one who will see your questions and I will ask them on your behalf. So go ahead and start putting those in the chat now. Before we get into introducing each of the programs and into Q&A, I did want to introduce our Dean of the School of Healthcare Professions, Jerry Tyrell.
I just wanted to pop on for just a few minutes and say welcome. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to spend 45 minutes, an hour with us. And I hope that your answers this evening, your questions this evening get answered. And we would love the opportunity for you to come visit us and see what we have to offer and engage with us further if you would like. Thank you.
Jerry. So before we go into Q&A, each program is going to introduce themselves and their program a little bit. So first up, we're going to hear from Timothy Cho, is the director of the Respiratory Care program. Timothy?
Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Tim Cho. I am the program director for Respiratory Care. And you may be wondering, what is a respiratory therapist? We are specialized clinicians who work with patients with lung disorders, both acute and chronic. And I think probably one word could describe respiratory care. It's a diverse and profession with a lot of variety. There's a lot of variety in the patients that we work with, including newborns all the way up to the oldest in our population, and a lot of variety in work settings. We have a lot of high stress, adrenaline filled work environments, all the way down to relaxed, organized office setting type workplaces. So you can find probably a workplace that fits your personal, I guess, oh, I don't know what to call it. Maybe your personality fits your personality best. And that's all within one degree and one profession. So a few things that we do are like breathing treatments, but we also run the life support machines that the sickest patients are on, such as the mechanical ventilators. So our application is still application period is currently still open until April 1, but we will continue to accept students until we're full. We accept one cohort every year, and that starts in fall. And it's only a 3-semester program. You'll graduate the following fall in December. One of the benefits of our program is job placement. In the last 5 years, everyone who's wanted a job had a job well before they graduated. So if you're interested, please don't hesitate to contact me. The contact information will be up near the end of the presentation.
Thanks, Tim. Next up, we're going to hear about the nursing program from the program director, Ashton Clarkson.
Hello, excuse me. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. And yes, my name is Ashton Clarkson. I am the director of the nursing program here at Newman. Our degree type, we are a bachelor's degree in nursing. Nursing is it's like respiratory therapy in the fact that we're very diverse. We have a lot of variety that we can do within nursing. If you like, high pressure, high stress, we can do things like work in the emergency departments and the intensive care units. We can do things such as being a flight nurse, work in pediatrics. You can also work in clinics, work from home as well too, doing remote jobs. We do have as far as in nursing, we have different degrees that you can pursue after your bachelor's degree. You can work towards being a nurse practitioner if you would like. Nursing anesthesia. You can also, go into education, get your PhD. There's so many opportunities that are available. We do admit twice a year in the fall and the spring. We currently are taking applications for the fall semester. We did end some applications in March, but we do have spots still open, so feel free to send in your application. It is a 2-year program. It is a minimum requirement of a 2.85 GPA and a C or higher in all your prerequisite courses.
Thanks, Ashton. Next up, we are going to hear from the, not the director, but Jessica McGovern from the Radiologic Technology program.
Hey, everyone. I'm Jessica McGovern. I am not Jeff Thon. I'm one of the faculty members of the Radiologic Technology program here at Newman. Jeff is out of town, so I'm kind of subbing in for him here. Our program, Radiologic Technology, another way to put it is X-ray technology. We are the ones that are responsible for medical imaging, mainly diagnostic X-ray, computed tomography or CT, MRI, interventional radiology. It is a lot more broad of a field, I think, than a lot of students realize at the beginning. So our program here at Newman is an associate's program, so we are 5 semesters total. We do go through the summer semester one time. And, just like Tim mentioned, all of our graduates or soon-to-be graduates, they're either working as student technologists or have jobs lined up already. You'll kind of find in healthcare, it's pretty much every area you look into, the demand is incredibly high, and we are no different. So again, I want to specify, we are not the ones that are reading these images. That is the radiologist, the physician. We're the ones that are responsible for taking accurate diagnostic quality images. So I think a lot of people, if you've had an X-ray in the past, you may have had an experience where, they come get you from the waiting room, you come in, sit down, they do their positioning and you take off. But our training, we have some of that, but we're also involved in the operating room, getting imaging in real time while the surgeon's placing screws, pins, whatnot. We're right there in the trauma bay after they put the patient, take them off the ambulance and bring them into the hospital, getting images right off the bat there. We are in fluoroscopy, so we're taking basically X-ray movies where we're looking at the patient drinking or ingesting some kind of X-ray dye. So it's really quite broad than what students kind of expect at the beginning. So we do admit only once a year. Our application deadline just closed. It's becoming increasingly more competitive to get in. I'd say this year we have 15 to 20 more applications than we did the year previous. So we like to take a maximum of 30 students, and we have you fulfill clinical training at a bunch of different sites throughout Wichita and a little bit outside of town as well. So one nice thing about our program is you won't need to necessarily move anywhere to fulfill your clinical training. You can stay here in the Wichita area. Our minimum required GPA is 2.75. I believe last year the average of our admitted class was a 3.3 GPA. So, just like everything else, the higher the better. And one final plug I'll put in, if you have any kind of interest in radiologic technology and any kind of medical field whatsoever that these faculty represent, please find some kind of time and arrangement to go observe in the clinical setting if you can, to see what these professionals are doing on the floor on the daily basis, and see if you can really see yourself being in their shoes one day. So thank you.
Taskin. Last up, we have diagnostic medical sonography with Program Director Brooke Ward.
Thanks. Yes, so I'm Brooke Ward. I'm the Director of Sonography. We have a bachelor's program here on campus. Our students come in for 5 semesters, much like radiology, but we are set up in a bachelor's degree. Students will start in the fall, and they will go through part 1 and part 2 of our 3 modalities. We have general sonography, vascular sonography, and OBGYN sonography. And they will be doing this program in a hybrid situation. So students will be doing all of our content online while doing their in-person labs, and that starts the first year. When students complete those part 1 and part 2 in the fall and spring, they will go do their internship time at their clinical site. And once they do that, they are in local facilities here in Wichita, surrounding cities, and surrounding states. So students will be doing that full-time, 32 to 40 hours a week. And they're also doing online content as well. We still meet virtually and discuss clinical things that are going on, well-being checks and critical cases, interesting findings, different things that are going on in clinical time, but also going over next level imaging. So looking at advanced imaging courses and then registry review. So once the students are finished, they will be able to sit for 4 different boards. We have our physics board, the vascular board, the OBGYN, and the general board. We just completed our application, and we have a large number of applicants this year, which is wonderful. Going through and reaching out to everybody to get their testing and interviews. Interviews will be at the end of the month here. So we'll have a new class getting going in April. So we're pretty excited about that. All of these students that applied have met the requirement of having a minimum of a C in all of their prerequisite courses, and also a 3.0. So obviously you can't have a C in everything and then come to a 3.0. So you'd have to make sure that you're pushing through to have that GPA to be application eligible. All of our students, it's pretty competitive. So all the students work really hard to make sure that their GPA is higher than that minimum number. We do go off of a rubric on our accepted applicants. So students, obviously, we look at the GPA. We're looking at their letters of reference. We have 2 letters of reference, looking to attest to their character. We're also looking through an aptitude test and then an interview. So we go through all of that, and that's how we select our candidates. The 2-year process goes by really fast, and all of our students, much like the other programs, have job placements. We have our class right now that's getting ready to graduate, and we've been slowly getting in messages that they're all getting jobs. And so it's been really exciting and kind of a really nice thing to see that they've been working so hard and they've been able to get a job right away. So we're pretty excited for them. But like everybody else, if you have any more questions after this, feel free to reach out. We're always happy to help and show you around.
Thanks, Brooke. Now, before we go any further, we did want to tell you about a very specific scholarship opportunity for Kansas residents who are interested in also specifically rad tech and respiratory care. So Tim, do you want to tell us a little bit more about the Kansas Promise Act scholarship?
Sure. The Kansas Promise Act scholarship is reserved for students in Kansas community colleges and technical colleges, but it also is programs that are non-4-year programs. And the 2 that apply here at Newman would be the Radiologic Technology program and the Respiratory Care program. Those scholarships are available here. And to qualify, you need to be a U.S. citizen, a Kansas resident, and meet some income requirements. So like if your family, how much they make, how many people are in the family, that kind of thing. So on average, depending on those numbers and your personal situation, for example, in respiratory care, many of our students over the course of 3 semesters receive somewhere between $9,000 to $12,000. And this money is what we refer to as kind of a last dollar scholarship. So it's applied after all the other awards are given. And this can cover any remaining tuition, fees, books, things like that. The maximum award is about $20,000. and or 68 credit hours of education. And the only stipulation is after you receive these funds that you complete your education within 3 years, and the timer starts when you first accept the money. And then the other stipulation is that you remain in Kansas and work for 2 years following completion of the program of study.
Thanks, Tim.
Yep.
We are going to move into open Q&A. I'm going to leave the program director's contact information up here if you want to screenshot it, if you want to save it for later. We did have some questions that were submitted in advance, and a couple coming in the chat. Jeskin, we have someone asking if there's any possibility you take late applications for Rad Tech.
We have in the past. Really, I know we're currently sitting at, I think, around 70 some applicants. All I can say is it can be submitted. I can't guarantee that an interview will be granted. But it is, if you want to submit it, it is worth a try because, you know, we like Brooke are going to start our interviews at the end of the month, and you never know what happens. I mean, people drop off. There's people who change their mind, and I would say I would recommend that you go ahead and submit it if you want to, but I honestly can't promise that that an interview will happen this year, since we have hit that deadline.
Got it. Thank you. Brooke, I have a question for sonography. Do current students at Newman University receive guaranteed acceptance into the program, or are they given priority consideration during the application process?
Yeah, so we since we do have an application process, not everybody gets a place, but we do have students that get priority on their application if they are a Newman student. So when I say that, it's a 1% bump, and that doesn't seem like a lot, but it is. When you have a bunch of stuff that goes into that, like I talked about that rubric there, it could be the difference between one and another there. So we have that 1% bump from being a Newman student, and also because we love our imaging world, Rad Techs, if they apply, they get another 1% bump. So you could potentially have a 2% bump above anyone else.
Gotcha. I have a question from a Rad Tech student, but really anyone can take it. Is it possible to be a collegiate athlete and be in these healthcare programs? What kind of conflicts might there be?
Well,
it is possible. It's not easy. We have had some, if I remember right, we've had some in cheer and dance go through the program. We really kind of approach clinical rotations, you know, on a case-by-case basis with athletes, because, you know, we know you guys travel, we know you have practice, all of that. So while we do have kind of a structure that we need everyone to follow to fulfill those clinical hours, it's not impossible for you to be an athlete and in this program. I also tell everyone applying that if you want or choose to work while you're in the program, again, it's not completely discouraged. It's just, it's going to be tricky. You may be doing up to 30 hours a week at clinical. And currently we have it set up for our second year students. They have every Friday off. And so you have a 3-day weekend every weekend where you can get working in and all of that. So there are some gaps where you can kind of be creative with your schedule. So, I mean, in short, I'd say it's not impossible. It's just, it can be kind of challenging to fulfill all the clinical requirements as well.
I just want to add a little note to that because with ultrasound, like Justin said, it can be tricky. Obviously, we want to support our students and our athletes and what they're wanting to do while they're in their college experience. But we are under obligation to meet a certain number of required hours for the national boards. And that is not something that, we can, you know, fudge. Obviously we have to run with a certain numbers. So I always tell our students, if they choose to do that, that we can't guarantee that a certain graduation time, if they are gone and not able to do those, because we have agreements with our facilities to allow our students there for a certain number of hours, and we can't just throw them in at any time, they're going to be here, do this hour. Continuity in that is important with our partners. So I always tell our students, we want to support you, but you have to understand, the logistics of it all as well. So it's not impossible, but there are, some pieces to it to just kind of understand going into it.
Got it. Thank you. Anybody else? Tim, did you have something to add? Are you good?
Oh, no, I was just going to echo what everyone else said. It's really the clinical component of the education process that often conflicts with the the matches and the games that go on and the traveling. However, I think a lot of our programs have had athletes, and we were able to work out some clinical schedule for them that minimize the amount of absences, that allowed them to be successful and meet all the accreditation standards or requirements to sit for their boards. So yeah, definitely it is possible to be successful in a program, these professional programs, while being an athlete.
Georgia, can I just add one thing?
Yeah.
If I am correct in this, you can declare one of the associate degrees, but you have to, for eligibility purposes, you have to declare a 4-year degree. So what we will often do is have you choosing, if you are interested in rad tech or respiratory care, but the health science degree as the bachelor's degree. And that's kind of a completion component to that because they need that 4-year degree as an element for eligibility if you're going to play a sport.
Thank
So,
you.
and nursing's not a problem, but for the associate degrees, we do need that 4-year degree plan. So we will have you select healthcare science as an element of that as well. So
We forgot to talk about that. But yes, if you're in rad tech or respiratory care, we have an optional bachelor's of science in healthcare science degree that you can add on. It's optional, but for athletes and to be eligible, it's a must. We have some other questions. Brooke, do you accept late applications for sonography? I'm sensing a trend.
We don't, honestly. We just have so many moving pieces. It creates too much confusion. And so, unfortunately, we have a hard deadline.
Got it. Thank you. Are there any rules specifically about working while you're in the program during your non-clinical years, or as long as it doesn't conflict, having a job is fine?
Oh, sorry, Tim.
Oh, go ahead, Ashton.
So I mean, I think this is probably true across all the programs, but this is definitely true for nursing. Students are allowed to work. That's fine. That's their choice. Work cannot be a conflict as far as clinical, and when you're supposed to be in clinical, and how you are acting in clinical. And I say acting because sometimes students want to work the night before. They have a clinical at 7 o'clock in the morning, and you can't come to clinical after you've worked all night. You'll be up more than 24 hours. And you just can't perform. It's not safe. It's very unsafe. And so we're thinking about safety of our patients and really the safety of our students too. So yes, you can work, and you can really work, I guess, however much you want. It just can't interfere with class or your clinical time.
For respiratory care, working is encouraged as a student. There's a student RT position, a permit given by the state of Kansas. and that'll allow you to do some basic patient care in the hospital. We even have some work agreements with the local hospitals that afford you a $2,500 bonus for each semester you work as a student. So that's about $7,500 towards the program, in addition to the wages that you earn. And so that's a real cool perk of being a respiratory care student. And the wages are pretty good. You know, they beat minimum wage at McDonald's or at Walmart. You know, instead of the $12.85, you're at $20 an hour as a student who hasn't even completed the program yet.
If I could just add real quick, our students at some of the larger clinical sites, at some of the larger hospitals, they do offer student technologist positions, anywhere from 2 to 3. And they typically have those available in your last semester of the program. They may offer them earlier if they notice, you know, you're a good worker and they can see you've got real potential. And this is kind of really looking ahead there, but we do have some ground rules there. If, say, you're working one of those positions, that you can't fulfill clinical requirements while you're on the clock working for that hospital. You're also not allowed to supervise another student while you're on the clock at the hospital. So, you know, those are really great opportunities that help you get your foot in the door in a specific hospital, but just in general, it looks great on the resume if you're a student technologist. But there are a couple boundaries we have to be aware of there. So we do encourage that. But other jobs outside of the program, yeah, we've seen quite a few. And as long as you have a flexible employer who respects your clinical schedule and prioritizes that as the highest, you know, set of hours and days you need to be off, then you're in good shape.
I have quite a few questions that were submitted in advance, just generally about like what happens after you submit your application, like how long before they hear about an interview, what that process is like, what the review process takes into consideration, and then when they might hear back. So if each of you wants to take a little bit of time and address that for your specific program, I think that would be helpful for a lot of our participants.
We go pretty fast and furious with the interviews, and again, March 1st is our deadline. We do interviews by the end of the month. Just like Brooke, we have a rubric that we use. There are some parts of it. Again, if you're a current Newman student, there's some incentive there. But we also look at things like previous work experience, if it's in healthcare or not. You know, don't worry if it is not, that's not a deal breaker. But we also really want to know, you know, what you know about the profession. What are you getting yourself into? And can you tell us, what do we do on the day-to-day basis and why you think you would be good at it? So we usually let students know, I want to say 2 weeks after interviews at the max, where it's pretty quick turnaround time from when an interview is until we notify you via email.
Maybe I'll jump in real quick because ours is pretty short. So after the initial application period is over, which is April 1, we'll take those and announce the results of who's been accepted shortly thereafter. And then if we still have space, we'll continue to accept applications in a rolling fashion. So as applications come in, if you qualify, you could hear shortly thereafter if you've been accepted or not. And we'll keep doing that until about July 1. We have to stop there because there's too much work that needs to be done to get you ready for the first day of school.
Even from the initial application process, when someone is starting the application and maybe they've submitted the application, but they're still submitting documents. Our administrative coordinator, Heather Moore, she will be in contact with people throughout that entire process. She handles the applications for all of the programs. And so she will be emailing people saying, you know, we've received your application. Thank you for applying. And the unique thing about our school is that you can apply for all 4 of the programs with one single application. And you can rank those as, you know, I'm most interested in nursing, and then I might want to apply for sonography second, respiratory care third, rad tech fourth, however you were interested in applying, or you could just apply for one program at a time. And so she would be communicating with people throughout that entire process, you know, saying we've received this transcript, we're still waiting for this one, or, you know, we've got this this essay, but, you know, you applied for all 4 programs, so you need to submit this, you know, whatever that looks like. And so she usually communicates with people within just a matter of a day or two. Sometimes it might take you know, up to 3 days or so after the application has been submitted, at least to send out that initial thank you, we've received this and we're waiting on these additional documents. So she's in constant communication with people who've submitted an application. And then she also schedules interviews as well. For most programs, not all of them. I think, Brooke, you do your own.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know, just depending on the number of applicants that we get each year, the timeline varies just a tad to how fast we can get through testing and get interviews and just make sure all the documentation that we need to get to those next points are in. So it just kind of, you know, basically I would say, you know, we, like Jessica, you know, says, you know, after the interview process, it's within the April, you know, a couple weeks, beginning of April timeframe there. We like to get things done and get students enrolled and ready to go for their fall session. So it's just a process through the month of March. So you can hear, you know, any point through that time, you know, about things you might need, the interviews or the testing for us. So it's just around that time frame. So it's a whole thing's about a 6 weeks process once we cut off applications.
Nursing is pretty similar to sonography and rad tech. We do, though, accept applications on a rolling cycle. We do have interviews scheduled the week after spring break. We will interview those applicants that have applied, and then we usually get back to them within 2 to 3 weeks as well. We do use a rubric for our interview process. It does entail things like takes into consideration science GPA, your overall GPA, your references. We do have a little bit of writing that we have students do when they come, and a few math questions as well, just because we do not require the TEAS test. So these are just a couple of things that we have students do just to kind of see where you're at with math and some writing. So all that's taken into consideration as well as then the actual interview that you would do. And then we usually get back to students within 2 to 3 weeks.
I lost track. Did everybody get a chance at that one? Okay. I have a question for sonography. If a student is not accepted into the program for the upcoming school year, do they need to reapply, including a new application, references, interview, and other requirements? Is it basically like a start over? And how many times can they reapply for a program?
So we have a 2 apply limit, and we do have students redo everything except for the test. They can redo that if they want, but because it does cost to take the test, I don't have them, you know, retake the test, and it's an aptitude test, so it's not something you can study for. It's just who you are and how you see things. So there really isn't a reason to retake that. But yeah, references can change in a year. You know, you change those things. So it is a new application. So aside from the testing.
All right, I have inquiring minds want to know what can they expect on the aptitude test if you're able to share. If you're not, that's okay.
It's the easiest way to explain it, and I tell everybody this, is that, like, when you're in elementary school and they show you an ink blot and you're like, oh, I see a butterfly, you can't prepare for that. It's just what you see and how your body processes things. So it will give us an idea if your body is physically capable of being successful in sonography. It's not the make or break, obviously, but if it shows that your body can't see lateral resolution very well and spatial resolution, those kinds of things, I don't want a student coming into the program and trying their very best and doing everything they can to be successful, and their body's just not able to do it. So we do take that into consideration to see if a student has the ability to do that. So I can't say the exact things, but it's like there'll be dots on the screen and it'll have you do those things. It'll show us persistence, different things about a person's person. So it's just kind of like that. It's not something you can study for. So I don't think there's much else to say on that.
You. Tim, we have a question in the chat about respiratory care application and whether or not you require any references or anything that needs to be submitted in addition to the application.
Oh, that's a good question. So the application itself can be submitted online. There's a few questions or prompts that you need to answer. And if you want, you can call that sort of like an essay. But other than that, we have one hospital tour that we require all applicants to go on. And the reason why we do that is we want you to fully understand what respiratory therapists do before you spend all this time and energy applying for a program and go through this schooling, and then at the end of it realize, hey, this is not what I expected, or that we're trying to bait and switch you, right? So that's what that hospital tour is for. It's for your peace of mind that, yeah, this resonates with me and that's what I want to pursue. And the reflection prompts that are on the application, a couple of them are asking about that hospital tour. So it'd be in your best interest to go on that to complete that reflection/essay piece of the application.
Does the hospital tour have to be anywhere specific, or do you have any recommendations?
On the application instructions, there are 2 contacts. So if you are in town or near town, you can call those 2 individuals. Their names and their phone numbers are in the application instructions, and they would be willing to set up a time to meet with you. We've had some students stay for 30, 45 minutes. Others really wanted the works and spend time in the nursery, and they were able to have them shadow there as well for 4 or 5 hours. So that really depends on what you want to do and how vocal you are on that phone call with that individual.
Thank you. I don't have any more questions that were submitted in advance or in the chat, so we could wrap up. Does anyone have any final notes they want to add or make known? This is your shot. No. Oh, Tim unmuted. You got something, Tim?
Oh, no, sorry. I hit that by accident.
All right. Well, I'll be back on screen. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. I did want to give you some admissions information. So I just put in the chat, if you are looking to learn more about these programs, maybe you want to sit down with faculty and figure out if you are program ready or close to being program ready, or see what you're missing, or maybe even just see if it's a good fit. Visiting can be a great way to get in front of faculty, to get your questions answered. You get to meet with admissions, learn a little bit more about cost and our processes, but also take a tour. Some of our faculty have the opportunity to show you their classroom and lab spaces while you're here. And additionally, you can customize your visit for other things like going to mass or trying out lunch in the dining hall, or if you're admitted, going to a class and having coffee with a student. The application for admission is incredibly easy. You do need to apply and be admitted to school to be considered for these programs. And then there's a separate application process for each of these programs that Jerry was kind of explaining. On the screen here, you can see some of the scholarships that we offer to first-year college students. meaning students that are coming to us right after high school, whether or not you have college credit that was earned during high school. Our application for admission is online. It's free. There's no essays, recommendations, personal statements. It takes maybe 10 or 15 minutes. You could even do it on your phone. At the bottom, you can see our admission criteria. We are currently test optional. So first year students need only show us a 2.0 cumulative high school GPA or an 18 on the ACT, but you don't need both. We'll show you how we can get scholarships to you using both. But you really just need one or the other. So first year students, when they're admitted, are automatically awarded a scholarship between $10,000 to $16,000. And these are amounts that are good every year for up to 5 years. We'll award you based on your GPA or your ACT, whichever one gets you more money. But we find that most first year students are not really sending us test scores anymore. So if you don't, that's cool. Now, if you're a transfer student, so you're somebody that's graduated high school, gone to another college or university, and now you're coming to Newman, you're considered a transfer student. The admission criteria is really similar. We don't look at test scores at all. So we just need to see that you have a cumulative 2.0 college GPA. And that's a GPA that will make across all of your college credits. Stuff earned during high school, in the summers. You can even send us AP and CLEP credit if you'd like. But when you're admitted, you get a scholarship between $10,000 to $15,000. These are amounts good every year for up to 3 years as a transfer student. Once you've applied and been admitted, you can apply using the exact same system for these programs that you learned more about tonight. As you heard, some of them have some different requirements, essays, hospital tours, recommendations. So it's good to give yourself enough time and be prepared. Again, RadTech and RadTech and sonography applications are closed if you're looking to be considered for fall of 2025. However, we are still taking applications for respiratory care and nursing. So if you'd like to apply or visit, see the links in the chat. You'll probably get a follow-up email from us here in the admissions office. And if there's anything we can do to get you more information or connect you with these programs, please let us know. But thank you for joining our virtual Q&A tonight. This is the last one of the year. So I do encourage you to come for a visit, and we hope you have a good rest of your evening.